By the time you are watching this, or more specifically listening to this, WWDC is 12 hours away. Well, most of you are probably asleep, but WWDC, by the time this video is out, is 12 hours away, and probably when you're watching, it's probably a couple hours away. So, here are the final predictions and what's planned to be announced at WWDC. Yes, I'm bringing this series back. Welcome back to the Tech Breakdown. This is a series that I made back in 2018, and I just canceled straight off the bat. Didn't even last a month. So we're bringing it back with episode 5. Yes, this is the 5th episode. We're bringing the series back. So let's do this. The main reason I canceled this series was because of different tech news show that I made called the Daily Tech News Podcast, which is actually going to be renamed to the Weekly Tech News Podcast because it's not really daily anymore. So go ahead and check that out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'll leave both of those links down below in the description. So let's get into the WWDC stuff. So first off, what's basically confirmed, well, kind of, is the software. So, iOS 14 is actually not going to be named iOS 14. It's actually going to be called iPhone OS 14 instead of iOS 14. And mainly because of the iPad OS naming that we got last year. They basically split iOS and iPad OS. So, the iPad ran the iPad software, iPad OS, and the iPhone ran the iPhone software, iOS, but also the iPod Touch ran the iPhone software, iOS. So, and there's even some rumors that they're probably going to rename the operating system for the iPad to iPod OS, which I actually kind of predicted a couple months ago. I was originally going to make a concept of it, but I scrapped it. So, yeah, that's cool. Anyway, there's going to be the new iPhone OS software, probably iPod OS, and things about those softwares is that it's going to be a smaller release than usual. It's going to be smaller, and it's actually going to support the iPhone SE and the iPhone 6S. The iPhone 6S is a 5-year-old phone, and it's still going to get software updates. That is impressive. And the iPhone SE is a phone that is 4 years old, and it's also still going to get updates. That is impressive. Name another Android manufacturer that supports their phone software as long as that. Anyway, now we're going to talk about other software. macOS is actually going to be announced, or a new version of macOS is going to be announced tomorrow. macOS 10.16, and there's a lot of rumors going around. One of the names is Monterey, which honestly sounds the best, so I'm going to say my bets for this year's name of macOS is Monterey. That's my name. That's my bets. And tvOS. tvOS is also going to get an update with tvOS 14. Yes. Even though tvOS has started from 9, there was the Apple TV software 1.0, which is literally just front row from OS X Tiger, and then there was the 2.0 release for the original one, which was just something like the Apple TV 2nd gen, and then 3rd gen, 4th gen, you know the deal. So, next, let's talk about watchOS. watchOS is supposed to get a couple new things. watchOS 7 is going to be the name of this release, and there's a kids mode planned, and also watchOS 7 will not support the Apple Watch Series 2. The Series 2 is going to be dropped from the list because it's too slow, and because the Series 2 is going to be dropped, the Series 1 is also planned to be dropped because the Series 2 and Series 1 were introduced at the same event, so it makes sense why the Series 1 will get dropped. So Series 3, anything from the Series 3 and newer is supported, which is currently only 3 Apple Watches: the Series 3, the Series 4, and the Series 5, which kind of believes me that Apple would release a brand new Apple Watch like Series 3, but it would have newer internals like an S5 or probably even an S6 processor, but the same design as the Series 3. So yeah, probably even give it like the ECG functionality and like some features from the Series 6 that's probably planned to be released this year, but in the Series 3 body and the internals of the Series 6 and the Series 3 body. And that's basically it for software. There's also going to be Audio OS 14 for the HomePod, which is probably going to be pretty huge. Audio OS already got a major update, which as of version 13.4, iOS is actually based off of tvOS instead of iOS. The HomePod originally shipped with a very, 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 very watered down version of iOS, but now the HomePod with tvOS now ships with a very, very, very watered down version of tvOS instead, which I would honestly believe them to introduce with iOS 14. Now, iOS 14 basically has no new features, but hey, whatever. I bet you Apple would not even cover that because, well, the average consumer probably doesn't care about it. So, now, let's talk about hardware. So, according to John Prosser, once again, some hardware products are not going to be released at WWDC in the first place, which is unfortunate. Oh my god. Hopefully they release the brand new redesigned iMac tomorrow. If not, then they're probably going to delay it for the fall, possibly an October event. But one thing that's probably also going to be announced is the transition from Intel CPUs to ARM Apple designed CPUs. Yes, for the past couple of years, Apple has been rumored to switch away from Intel to ARM CPUs, which is similar to what they've done in the past. They switched away from 68K CPUs to PowerPC CPUs from 1994 to 1996. That's even before when Steve Jobs was actually not at the company at that time. But apparently it was really good. Yeah. And in 2001 to 2003, Apple transitioned from macOS 9 to macOS 10, which was a huge change. They literally just did a brain transplant of macOS. And in 2006 to 2007, Apple switched away from PowerPC CPUs to Intel CPUs. And now from, I bet you, like 2021 to 2022, I think that's probably going to be how it's going to go down. Apple's going to transition from Intel CPUs to their own ARM CPUs. Now, there probably won't be a new ARM Mac announced, but there have been rumors saying that the ARM Mac is probably going to be announced in late 2020, as soon as late 2020. And what will this mean for you? Well, first off, it's probably going to be faster, probably. But also, there's actually going to be two different versions of software. Actually, no, three different versions of software. The first one's going to be Intel, the second one's going to be ARM, and the third one's going to be Universal. Yes, we're going to get Universal back for the first time since 2006 or 2007. First time ever we're going to get Universal back because now we're going to switch over to new ARM CPUs. So basically, Universal means that it will work with both CPUs. It will work with both ARM and Intel. Intel will, of course, mean it will work with Intel, and ARM will mean that it will work with ARM. And also expect two different versions of Mac OS. Three different versions of Mac OS. Or actually, no, it's going to be two different versions of Mac OS. An ARM version and an Intel version. I'm pretty sure the install macOS app will still work with any one of them, but ARM and Intel, it's going to be insanely complicated. Let's just say that. It's going to be really complicated, going from both of these together. And it's going to take a long time for them to transition over to this because, well, developers need to optimize their apps for the ARM CPUs, which is good. Like, not a lot of companies do that. When they announce a huge transition, they don't really announce it like sooner. Like when Microsoft announced the Surface Pro X back in October of 2019. When Microsoft announced the Surface Pro X in 2019, it had an ARM CPU, and because of that, now have developers develop their apps in time for the Surface Pro X to launch. So because of that, not a lot of people actually bought the Surface Pro X because of the software, and a lot of people just went to Surface Pro 7 instead. I honestly think Microsoft should have announced it way before, because, well, all developers would have optimized their apps for it, and also probably sold two different versions of the Surface Pro X, one with Intel or AMD CPU, and one with the ARM CPU. So, yeah. And there have been rumors that Apple will switch to AMD CPUs, but like in the recent macOS betas, there have been speculation of AMD CPUs, but that's actually not really the case. They have done this before, like when they were switching from PowerPC to Intel, the past couple versions from macOS, I think it was like 10.0 all the way to 10.4. It had a secret life where it actually had Intel support, which was weird. So, yeah, that's basically it. It's actually going to be a more smaller WWDC. It's probably the first time since we got that since 2018. Well, I mean, 2019 was pretty small. The only hardware products that we got was the Mac Pro, the Pro Display XDR, the Pro Stand, and the VESA mount for the Pro Display XDR. Yeah, I always have to mention the Pro Stand. So, just another recap. We have iPhone OS for the iPhone. It's going to be a more smaller release. Basically, it's going to support more older devices. So, your iPhone 6s and iPhone SE users, you're going to get iPhone OS 14. iPad OS is going to get version 14.0. And I forgot to mention that iPad OS will probably get Xcode support and possibly even Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. Possibly, it's not officially confirmed, but possibly it's going to be in iPad OS 14. Hopefully, it's going to be in iOS or iPad OS 14. Mac OS 10.16, I'm guessing it's going to be called Monterey. It's probably going to be another one of those 2 life editions of Mac OS. It's going to have 2 lives in it from it's going to be Intel and ARM. It's probably going to be one of those releases. It's probably going to be the first time ever since we got that. Last time we got that was Tiger from WWDC 2005. That was 15 years ago. And tvOS 14, not a lot of changes there. Hopefully we'll also probably get a new Apple TV tomorrow. But again, John Prosser is probably saying that there's no hardware releases for tomorrow. And watchOS 7. And also the transition to ARM CPUs. So, yeah, it's pretty small WWDC this year. But hopefully it's going to be a good one. So, yeah, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow for the official live commentary, and also stay tuned for tomorrow morning for my live countdown for WWDC. It's gonna last until WWDC gets live and my live commentary gets live. So, thanks for watching. or listening, depending on where you're viewing this, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.